Stocks cave in after a steady start as fears of a prolonged Iran war make investors cautious. Realty and financials are the big drags, even as capital goods, utilities and IT eke out some gains.
US has allowed Indian refiners a 30-day window to buy Russian oil following supply disruption due to the Iran war. US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says this won't provide significant benefit to Russia. The stock of Reliance surges.
Growth in India is at an inflection point, says HUL CEO Priya Nair in her first television interview. She adds that premiumization and category creation along with headroom will drive growth as HUL double down on beauty, personal care and wellness.
Airlines have cancelled over 2,300 flights in India since February 28th, with domestic carriers accounting for 1,770 of them, and Indigo alone over 800. The Indigo stock slumps as the war in West Asia disrupts its flight plan.
Oil futures have dropped but have managed to recover a significant part of those losses after reports indicate that the US is contemplating intervention in the oil futures market to rein in prices. Goldman Sachs expects a significant pullback to $76 a barrel for Brent crude. Good afternoon, you're with us here on Business Lunch. We are coming to you live from the CNBC-TV18 Motilal Oswal studios. I'm Hormuz Patakia. With me as always, Arundhati Raman. And Arundhati, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Hormaz. It's red across the screen, right? There's no place to hide in the markets, but the mid-cap index managing to hold on better than the blue chips, but banks putting the pressure.
The banks have been the big drags today. It's on one side, it's been the banks, and on the other side, it's been Reliance Industries. And that is what is ensuring that the downside on the Nifty is capped. 800 points lower now on the Nifty Bank. It's been an underwhelming day for the banking stocks. And on the other side, it is Reliance Industries that is keeping the index afloat. So continuing to hold on to gains of around 2%. And that is ensuring that the Nifty is managing to hold out on that 24,600 mark as we close out this week. So this will be the second straight week where the index will be down more than 1.5%. It was down 1.5% last week as well. So a down week yet again. It'll be interesting to see how Wall Street behaves overnight, considering the sell-off that you saw yesterday. So it's fairly fluid right now. No clarity on what happens in West Asia. Oil prices, which had declined earlier in the day, have recovered most of those losses. Brent is now back above the $85 a barrel mark. So there is no let-off there as well. So as of now, it is banks that are putting pressure, but Reliance is keeping the index downside capped, at least for now.
Absolutely. And, if we look at the sectors, right, on the upside, we've got some of those defense names. We've got BL, Mazagon Dock, Bharat Dynamics, all of them soaring over 5%. Mazagon Dock also seeing an order win, which helped that stock go higher. IT names seeing some recovery, although, it's not at the high point of the day. After the sell-off it witnessed in the last month, we've got Infosys, Persistent Systems, HCL Tech, all of them gaining between 0.5% and 2.5%. But on the downside, we're seeing pressure, like Hormaz pointed out, from those private banking names, which are also the top losers on the Nifty. We've got ICICI Bank, HDFC Bank, Axis Bank, all of them between 1.5% to 2.5% in the red. And it's the Realty index that's feeling the pressure. It's the top losing index. Godrej Properties, Prestige, Lodha, all of them over 2% in the red. So that's how the markets are looking today. But our top story this afternoon, the war in West Asia sees no end as it enters day 7. At least 1,230 people have been killed in US and Israeli strikes on Iran since the fighting began on Saturday. In retaliation, Iran has been striking neighboring countries. In the latest slew of attacks on the other Gulf regions, a fire broke out at a unit of Bahrain's Bapco Energy's refinery after a missile strike. But officials say the blaze has been contained, with no injuries reported and refinery operations continuing. Meanwhile, U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said that Iran was making a mistake if it believed that the United States could not sustain the ongoing war, adding that Washington had just begun to fight. And in an interview to NBC, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Iran, Abbas Araghchi, condemned the U.S. attack on the ship IRIS Dina, saying it was unarmed and called it a war crime. He added Iran was confident it would confront the U.S. in a ground invasion and was waiting for the U.S. to invade them. Meanwhile, the U.S. Central Command has released this video on X, wherein Iran's sole drone carrier craft, IRIS Shahid Bagheri, can be seen being hit with smoke clouds billowing from the impact.
And US President Donald Trump has said that they, along with their Israeli partners, continue to demolish the enemy. He said that Iran wanted to make a deal, but he told them that they were a little bit late. Listen in.
The United States military, together with the wonderful Israeli partners, continues to totally demolish the enemy far ahead of schedule and at levels that people have never seen before, actually. We're destroying more of Iran's missiles and drone capability every single hour, knocking them out like nobody thought was possible. As soon as they set off a missile, within 4 minutes, the launcher gets hit. They don't know what's happening. But we have the greatest military anywhere in the world. Their Navy is gone. 24 ships in 3 days. That's a lot of ships. But they're tough, and they want to fight. And they're calling. They're saying, how do we make a deal? I said, you're being a little bit late. And we want to fight now more than they do.
Meanwhile, Iranian foreign minister told NBC News that they are not asking for a ceasefire. Take a look.
We are not asking for a ceasefire. And we don't see any reason why we should negotiate with the U.S. when we negotiated with them twice, and every time they attacked us at the middle of negotiations. So there is no request for a ceasefire by us, and there is no request for the negotiation with the U.S. From us. We have never sent any messages to them.
In fact, our colleague Santya also spoke to the Israeli ambassador to India and asked him about how the United States and Israel plan to secure shipping lines via the Strait of Hormuz. Listen into his comments.
Of course, it doesn't control it. I think what the Iranian regime is trying to do is to intimidate ships from going through the straits. I think that a lot of countries are taking precaution, especially insurance companies. And as we speak, I know of an effort, American effort and the effort of other Western powers to actually prepare a program to safeguard the movement through the straits so the Iranian threats cannot be realized. And I'm sure that there's going to be an international effort to secure the movement through the straits in the near future.
And in some relief for the oil sector, the U.S. Treasury Department has announced a temporary 30-day waiver to allow Indian refiners to purchase Russian oil. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said the move was in light of oil and gas production reaching the highest levels ever recorded. He added that the measure will not provide significant financial benefit to the Russian government, as it only authorizes transactions involving oil already stranded at sea. India is an essential partner of the U.S., and we fully anticipate that New Delhi will ramp up purchases of U.S. oil. This stopgap measure will alleviate pressure caused by Iran's attempt to take global energy hostage.
Let's also now hear out what the U.S. Energy Secretary Chris Wright had to say to ABC News on the global energy security, the United States ensuring a safe passage via the Strait of Hormuz, and the United States' decision to allow supply of Russian oil to India. Listen in.
Not today, not today. There is commercial insurance markets. What we're going to do is backstop or reinsure existing commercial markets, but when it's time. You don't want to run a large tanker ship through the Strait of Hormuz today, but that'll change in the not too distant future. We're taking a short-term action to say all this floating Russian oil storage that's around southern Asia. We've reached out to our friends in India and said, buy that oil, bring it into your refineries. That pulls stored oil immediately into Indian refineries and releases the pressure on other refineries around the world. So we have a number of measures like that are short-term and temporary. This is no change in policy towards Russia. This is a very brief change in policy just to keep oil prices down a little bit better than we could otherwise.
Now, Sri Lanka has begun offloading 208 crew members from a second Iranian vessel near its waters. The second Iranian ship was diverted from the Colombo port to the Trincomalee port to avoid risks to commercial shipping. Sri Lankan naval teams are transferring officers and sailors ashore, with a small group staying on board to navigate the vessel to Trincomalee. Now, these developments come after a U.S. submarine strike sank an Iranian warship off the coast of Sri Lanka the day before, killing 87 sailors. Sri Lanka's president also said that Colombo is staying neutral but putting humanity first.
An important programming note as we slip into a short break. Weight loss drugs are in vogue with rapid adoption across markets. But for investors, are weight loss drugs an attractive portfolio bet? Tune in to CNBC-TV18 on the 9th of March, 3 p.m. onwards to catch the big players in the weight loss drug industry on one platform discussing the opportunity lying ahead. Welcome back. You're still with us on Business Lunch. As the conflict in West Asia widens, the government has asked oil refining companies to maximize and ensure that propane and butane streams are used to produce LPG and make it available to oil marketing companies. Refiners have also been asked to not use propane and butane for petrochemical production and to sell LPG to domestic consumers only.
Now, staying with the fallout of the war, data accessed by CNBC-TV18 shows that over 2,325 flights have been cancelled between the 28th of February and the 5th of March due to the West Asia airspace disruption. Madhya is now joining in with more details on this. Madhya.
Well, 7 days since the conflict started, and it has caused major turbulence for global aviation, not just India. The impact has been huge, but the severity is understood with numbers. And the exclusive data accessed by us shows that the scale of disruption is so huge that since the 28th of February till the 5th of March, over 2,300 flights have been cancelled due to the airspace restrictions across the Middle East. Out of these, 1,770 flights were cancelled by Indian Airlines, while 555 cancellations were by foreign carriers. The passenger impact is massive. Nearly 3 lakh travelers have been affected so far, and around 16,000 passengers were stranded across different Gulf airports as of the 5th of March when we accessed this data. Airlines have been trying to bring back passengers using alternative routes. On the 4th of March alone, 28 inbound flights operated from the Middle East and brought back about 5,300 passengers to India. On the 5th of March, which is yesterday, at least 36 flights were operated by Indian carriers. Now, if we look at the day-wise cancellations by Indian Airlines, the numbers clearly show how severe the disruption has been. On 28th February, about 196 flights were cancelled. This jumped to 348 cancellations on the 1st of March and 357 flights on the 2nd of March, which was the peak of the disruption. After that, 319 flights were cancelled on the 3rd March, 269 flights on 4th March, and on the 5th March, airlines cancelled 281 flights. Now, if we break this down airline-wise, Indigo accounts for the highest cancellations at 806 flights. That's followed by Air India Express with 580 flight cancellations, Air India with 229, SpiceJet with 123, and Akasa Air with 67 cancelled flights so far. And the reason this disruption is continuing is because several critical airspaces in West Asia are still either closed or operating with heavy restrictions. So Tehran, Baghdad and Damascus remain shut till the 7th March. Tel Aviv's airspace is closed till 9th March. And Kuwait, Doha are operating rolling closures depending on the security situation. The UAE is partially open. Jeddah is expecting flight diversions, and Muscat is open but with operational restrictions. So for now, airlines are still rerouting flights, cancelling services and reviewing alternate air corridors, which means the disruption to travel between India and the Gulf and even Europe could continue in the coming days.
All right, Madhya, many thanks for taking us through those details. But moving on, at the grand finale of the 17th season of LIME, CNBC-TV18's Mangalam Malu caught up with HUL's MD and CEO Priya Nair to discuss the company's trajectory in the near future. Take a look.
We see an opportunity to have a more segmented approach to India. HUL is a company which is not a single brand company. Within a category, we're a multi-brand company. And the power of HUL lies in the incredible reach from the top of the pyramid to the bottom of the pyramid with our brands that we have. So, you can reach consumers not just at the top of the pyramid, but also at the bottom of the pyramid because of the range of brands we have. But we're segmenting much more our go-to-market models for each of the ends of the pyramid of the country. We're bringing in much more capability, whether it is in the way we do marketing or in terms of distribution and sales, to segment much more the population and the geographic dividend that the country will have. We see the overall space of beauty, personal care, and wellness as the big driver of delta growth for us as a business. And that's the area we will double down.
Take a short break for now. More news and updates follow on the other side. Stay tuned. Welcome back. On to some sombering news now. Two Indian Air Force pilots, Squadron Leader Anuj and Flight Lieutenant Purvesh Duragkar, have died in a Sukhoi Su-30 crash in Assam's Karbi Anglong district. The incident took place during a training session, following which both pilots succumbed to the injuries. In a post on X, the Indian Air Force has expressed its condolences.
And shifting focus down south, Karnataka becomes the first Indian state to ban the use of social media for minors under the age of 16. Chief Minister Siddaramaia's proposal comes amid rising concerns around excessive screen time and reduced academic focus. Following the footsteps of the Karnataka government, leaders from other states like Andhra Pradesh and Goa are weighing similar steps. And in some cheerful news to wrap up Business Lunch, the men in blue seal their spot in the final of the T20 World Cup, where they will face off against New Zealand. In a pulsating, high-scoring game, Team India, led by Sanju Samson's 89 of 42 balls and a quick-fire 43 from Shivam Dubey, set England a target of 254 runs in 20 overs. England's Jacob Bethel gave the men in blue a scare and threatened to take the game away with a 47-ball century. However, some excellent death overs bowling by Jasprit Bumrah and company ensured that India have a chance to make history in Ahmedabad by becoming the first team to successfully defend the T20 World Cup Championship. But Hormaz, we can't forget that catch by Akshar Patel as well, right?
Catches win matches, as they say, and as Mohammad Siraj also said, in Jassi Bhai we trust, as they do, and he's delivered as he always does. We take a leave of this edition of Business Lunch. We leave you with the markets having gone nowhere since we started the show, still 150 points lower. From Arundhati and me, thank you for watching. Midcap Radar on the other side.